floor area of 408.8 cubic square meters, or 4,400 square feet, is being proposed for the home industry use. The applicant may also require relief from the minimum distance separation two setback requirements for temporary manure storage associated with the trucking business and the associated washing facility. Additional relief may be considered for this meeting. The lands are currently zoned Agriculture A and Natural Environment NE. The property contains an existing 232.25 square meter or 2,500 square foot home industry, which is a carpentry shop. The applicant is proposing a 176.5 square meter or 1,900 square foot building addition for the wash bay. Notices were mailed to property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on February 27, 2019, and posted on the subject property. Following comments were received, Town of Minto staff, the building assistant reported attached, Jessica Rahim, the junior planner, County of Wellington, with her report attached, Patrick Huber-Kidby, environmental planning technician, regulations officer of the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, and an email from the Star Transport Inc. who's the interested purchaser of the subject property. So,
are we going to go through this whole thing?
No. Terry will come up.
Okay, Terry. You're just wearing the next one.
Yeah, so we made contact with the applicant yesterday, and he actually requests a deferral on the application. The application was made on behalf of a potential purchaser, and the status of that purchase is kind of up in the air at this point, so he requests a deferral of the application until things can get decided. So he is aware that we will have to re-notify the neighbors if the application moves forward, as well as hold another public meeting.
Okay. I'll read it out and then I'll ask for a mover and a seconder. The zoning application ZBA 2019-09 Dan Sinkler for 9161 Wellington Road 5 be deferred to verify the scope of the application. All in favor? I will state, if you wish to be notified of the decision of the Council of the Town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the Deputy Clerk of the Town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, NOG 1ZO, or email at annaline@town.minto.on.ca. And there's nobody here, so no further discussion, and I will call that meeting closed. Fabulous.
Wasn't.
All right. Next up, we have a couple of things. We have 3 delegations, and the first one we're going to start off with. I can have Councillor Anderson and Councillor Anderson. I like that, the way I said that. Eh? One is for the county and one for the town. If you would like to come up, and we're going to do a little presentation. If you had a chance to come in the front, you'll see there's an old map on this. Is on your right hand side when you come in, and Dave and Jean found that somewhere, and they're going to talk a bit of where they found it. I think Dave's got a little bit of history of it, or Jean, David. Okay, oh, there it is. There's a picture of it right there, and we're really pleased to have that. We found a home for it, and Dave, do you want to talk?
Thanks, Marybridge. So this map is at the County Archives at Des Moines. It's been there for many, many years. I first seen this map probably 10 years ago. And I've seen it also at, it's kind of funny, it's the Erin Township office also, for the southeast side of Wellington. So I only thought it would be fair to have the same map in the farthest northwest side of Wellington. And I've heard rumors that in the Township of Wellington North, there's a similar map, but not quite the same. Very similar. The map is a Wellington County in 1861. It was published by Guy Leslie and Charles Willock, and they were from Orangeville, and they were public land surveyors at the time. It's kind of interesting if you look at it, because in the town of Minto, in that time, it shows the landowners and the lot numbers. Now, the last couple weeks ago, the building inspector and I, we were playing around with it, trying to find the history, and we were unsuccessful. In the meantime, I've talked to the people at the archives. They've downloaded a lot of information and history at our archives, but they don't have that information yet. So if people came and saw their lot number, went down to the archives, they can trace the purchase right back to when it was chartered territory from the government of Canada. So the information's there, but it's not downloaded yet, but soon to be there within the next 5 years. So that's really interesting. So I thought it would be fitting to be here. It's been a long while getting here, and we're just happy to give that to the town of Minto.
It is really cool because they showed it to us at the museum, and if they have the information, they just put it into the system, and up comes every previous owner, and we have the deeds for our piece of property. They were in the wood stove from all the original purchases, and note the price was a lot lower, some 70 years ago, but the interest rate wasn't very different. Very interesting stuff. So we just thought it would be fitting to be part of the town.
And I was researching it. If you look at it, you notice Palmerston doesn't exist yet because Palmerston didn't come to play until in the 70s. So, but I did look up where the home farm was, and unfortunately on this map they spelled it Bride, not Bridge. But there's three of us in a row, and I know great grandpa John Bridge and whatever. It's right on the town line, so it's great. It's a great map, and really appreciate it. And we just wanted to do a little thing. We wanted to give you a little plaque recognizing that David and Jean donated this. So we're gonna put that up there. So if you want. I don't know. All right. Now, next we have Saugeen Conservation Authority. Now, all's here. I've got. You want to come up and got the table here? Who's coming up to speak on Saugeen? Steve's here. You know, it's great to see Steve, and I think you're gonna introduce everybody, right?
Yeah, I think I will.
That's great.
So thanks for having us, Mayor. I know I'm a late entry to the game.
Oh, that's good to see you.
About the meeting tonight, or this afternoon when I was at the Saugeen Conservation Authority meeting this afternoon. We've been doing some great things on the last 4 years, actually, that I've been on the board, on the authority. Shannon's going to talk to a lot of those great things that are getting accomplished. We are going to probably touch on some customer service concerns that we have had in the past that are getting rectified. Excuse me, and I think you'll find that we're doing all we can for the water shed in Saugeen, and very happy to represent Minto and volunteer for that port. So without further ado, Shannon, please.
Shannon's gonna come. You got a choice, Shannon. You can either be up or down.
I'll stand up.
You just grab the mic if you want, or I make sure we get it.
Just pull it down.
Yeah. I don't know. That's not a problem. I'm with you on that.
That's good. That's good. So thank you very much for having us today. I understand we've got about 10-15 minutes, so I'll try to get through this rather quickly because I see that you've got a very busy meeting as well. So what we thought we would do is come here to the municipality, and we're hoping to get around to all our member municipalities actually, and kind of give you the Conservation 101, so to speak, as to what we're doing at Saugeen Conservation and how conservation authorities came to be and that kind of thing. So we'll go through it pretty quickly, but afterwards, if you have any questions, then certainly feel free to ask either myself or Wayne as well. So I guess we'll go ahead. There we go. So we're one of 36 conservation authorities across Ontario. So you can see there by the map that where we are at. And we're actually one of the largest jurisdictions of any conservation authority across the province. So we'll go to the next one, please. So there you go. There we are. And we are 1,800 square miles in size. So again, one of the largest conservation authorities in that respect, or 4,765 square kilometers. So that's a lot of land. And we take in the Saugeen Rivers, the Penetangor, and the Pines. So we actually have quite a big jurisdiction. I'm sorry if I have my back to some of you here. So, okay. So why were we established? I get this actually quite a bit. People will say, okay, well, how did you guys come about to be in the first place? So actually it was two different things that were happening at once as the late 1800s and the beginning of the 1900s. And so two things. First of all is that there's an old saying that goes that Ontario was settled by its rivers. And that's very true. And there's a good reason for that, right? We look at some of them now, we go, oh, what were you thinking? But in actual fact, that's where you wanted to settle because that was your mode of transportation. That's where you got your water. That was your livelihood. So to them, it only made sense that they would settle around the rivers. So, but of course, we know what happens then. Of course, when we get lots of rain, we get high flows, and a lot of people were flooded out as a result. The other thing that was happening at the same time was the depletion of natural resources. We all know the late 1800s and the beginning 1900s is that we thought here in Canada the resources were going to go on forever. And of course we realized that that wasn't the case. So those two things actually came together all the way through the early 1900s to the formation of the Conservation Authorities Act in 1946. So that kind of gives you just a little bit of background. So a few facts. On November 1949, 32 municipalities agreed to form Saugeen Valley. March 1950 is our first meeting, and the SVCA is the 13th conservation authority to be established in Ontario. 1952 was a motion for flood control in Walkerton. So that was our first big project or a capital project that the Saugeen undertook. So that was in the 1950s. So then, of course, we have the regulations that follow after that. Hurricane Hazel was 1954, where we had a damage estimate of $20 million at that time and 81 lives lost. So the province at that time, of course, there was a huge outcry saying we don't want this to happen again, ever. And so that was really where our regulations were born out of, so that, as we say very quickly around the office, when it comes to development, we keep the people away from the rivers and the rivers away from the people. So that's where that kind of fits in. So then that leads to our core mandate, which is the prevention of loss of life, property damage, and social disruption from flood and erosion processes. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Thank you for doing that, by the way. So when we talked about Walkerton, for example, everybody is probably familiar with the dikes in Walkerton or Paisley. They are capital projects, so they're the big ones. And those are the ones that were actually put together to help fix an existing problem. So let's take, for example, Walkerton. There was already quite a bit of community that was already established in the floodplain. So what are you going to do about that? Well, we're going to try to protect those people and the structures. So those are the capital projects. And of course, we know over the years, millions and millions of dollars spent on capital projects. Flood warning is to keep watershed residents aware of floods and what is happening out there in the watershed. And environmental planning and regulations, again, it's keeping the people away from the rivers and the rivers away from the people. So it's much like a puzzle that all fits together and it works really well. Okay. So the capital works, so correcting an existing problem, and that's just a picture of the dikes that are in Paisley, for example. Okay, next. And today, just to give you a little fact-finding mission for Saugeen Valley, there's a total of 19, since we were established in 1950, 19 flood and erosion control structures across the watershed, totaling, when they were constructed. So we've got over $13 million. That's just in our watershed alone. To protect a little over 1,000 buildings, homes, and businesses, and approximately 4,500 people. So that comes down to the brass tacks, basically. So the annual cost of that, in terms of taxpayers' dollars, is $130,000 a year just for us, right? Just for Saugeen Valley. So what does it cost across the province? So there you can see where the planning comes into it, where that an ounce of prevention, or how does that go? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, something like that. So flood warning. So we have a number of stations, 27 in total, across the watershed. So those are all automated, and that's very similar with other conservation authorities across Ontario as well. So they, in turn, record a number of different parameters, and each one is quite different. but they'll include the water level, the air temperature, the water temperature, and all kinds of things. So what that does is that in the office then, our flood warning manager is able to bring in that data and put it together so we know exactly what's going on in the watershed. So it's quite the busy spot when we're getting high flows, that's for sure. So again, environmental planning, and that's again keeping the people away from the water and the water away from the people. So we're always protecting the lives and the property, which fits in with our core mandate. Now, this is kind of an interesting picture that, if I can digress for a second, the house that you see there is actually flood-proof, and it's located in the town of Durham. If you remember, in the late I think it was 1989, no, 98. It was the town of Durham that was flooded. If you look next to that, to the left, you will see a garage there. And the water line at that time was halfway up that garage. And that existed throughout that whole street. That whole street was flooded like that. The people that were actually in this house, it's flood proofed according to modern regulations, modern standards. And so there's no basements, built up higher. And all the neighborhood people, we have a picture of all the neighborhood people standing in the window of that home looking out at the floodwaters. So it was the only one on that street that was flood-proof, and you could really see then how it really put together. So it works for sure. So now what we're going to do is get to the grassroots conservation. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. What are we doing out on the ground? And we'll get to some of the programs that we're going to focus on here. First is the tree planting. So of course we've been doing that since our first tree planting purchase was 1951. So it's been going on for quite some time. In 2018 we did 80,000 trees. And 6,671 trees were sold at our Arbor Day tree sale. Has anybody here ever been to our Arbor Day tree sale? Just south of Hanover?
Wayne has. You had to put your hand up, Wayne. You're in big trouble.
That's right. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity if you're just looking for a couple of trees. This is the only time that we've got that kind of thing available. You want some trees for your yard, that kind of thing. So it's really handy, and it's a very, very popular event for sure. We also did 19 MIP-TIP programs and that were completed and or updated. Next slide. So these are the stewardship services. So this is on the ground stuff that everybody likes to see. So this takes in a number of different aspects of what we do. So we could be looking at the Yellowfish Road program, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with. We could be taking in the Phragmites removal that we've done along the shoreline in Lake Huron. We also work together with other environmental groups throughout the watershed to help them out with their various projects as well. So those stewardship projects are the ones that we really try to work together with the landowners, all the different organizations, et cetera, that are within the watershed to make things happen on the ground. So those are the very popular programs indeed. So we'll go to the next one. Water quality as well, we're involved with that. So we do over 200 samples taken at 29 river and stream locations, 23 groundwater samples, for example. And we also do the monitoring of the bugs, as we like to say. So getting out there into the streams and the rivers and the creeks, and we sample those bugs, and we can tell by the bugs that live there how the water quality is within any given waterway. So that really tells us a lot of what's happening. And then it provides us with a better way to tailor our conservation measures depending on the results that we find from doing all that collection and putting it together. So it works out quite well. The agricultural programs, they have been very successful. We've started those in the last couple of years, and it's really about farmers, teaching farmers. We've had the coffee, crops, and donut sessions that I'm sure probably a lot of you have heard about, I should say. So we've had approximately 300 participants in 2018. Very, very successful, and that's worked out so well. So the farmers that's their real time to get out there and showcase what they've been doing, or the different methods that they've been trying, the equipment they've been using, and that kind of thing. We also did the Soil and Water Passport program for the first time last year, soil health and infiltration projects, and of course public outreach is always a part of that too. Yeah, we'll go to the next one. Conservation education, it's always considered a very important program to us. We teach close to 12,000 kids per year. We get out into that natural environment and teach them about all different aspects. They're curriculum based. There's over 90 different programs that teachers can choose from. and they're all fee for service. They can choose those programs. They can do half a day, a full day. They can do one staff person, two staff. They can choose what they like. It's very much like a product, and it's getting the students out there, which is really important because, of course, they're going to be our future managers. We also do the Forest and the Water Festival, Youth Expo, Earth Week programs, day camps, and lots more. So we're big time involved with the kids of the watershed. Floodwaters in Union as well, too. The communications and outreach, so that's kind of where we fit in. We do a lot of the local shows, the events. If anybody's been to Christmas in the Country, for example, we do that one in Hanover. Social media, tours and development. We started the new tours of the Greenock Swamp, the formal tours that we've been doing started a few years ago, and they've worked out really, really well. We've had almost every tour booked to the hilt so far, so it's been really great to be able to do that as well. Next. Questions? Did I forget anything?
Very well done. Very
Wayne's
well
here too,
done.
so you can ask him questions if there's any. Sure.
That's great.
Still got a couple minutes.
Yeah, and one thing I was going to point out, the nice thing about coming and doing a presentation, this gets on our website, and Whiteman picks it up, so you get a lot of coverage. That's nice. That's why.
There's no cameras here, though, is there?
Yes,
Right, one
sir.
behind
Oh,
you.
really?
You're on camera right now.
Okay, I would have worn a tie.
No, you're good.
I would have looked as sharp as Steve.
You're good. That's right. That's
Looking
right.
sharp, though. Shortly after I started, so I started in 2013, the board made an emphasis, a priority of improving the planning and regulations department. So a number of things that we have done in the last, say, 4 years would include, we put our floodplain mapping, our regulation mapping on the website, so the public can go and they can find their own property, and they can tell whether they're in their regulated area, totally out of it, or sort of close to it. So that helps them, and it helps also the municipal planning staff. We also changed our what we call our screening or buffer zone, where if we have a regulated area, we say, if you're within, we used to say if you're within 50 meters of that, you should contact us, and we'll sort of tell you for sure whether we need to come out and take a look at your development. We lessened that from 50 meters to 30, and that took out a lot of square kilometers out of the watershed that staff had to spend time looking at, so it made us a little more efficient. We also developed a policy manual, planning and regulations policy manual, under the direction of the board. Steve was a big part of that, and it's on our website, but it helps staff know exactly what they're supposed to do in this situation, so we can be consistent and we can be more efficient. I'm trying to think of a few other things. Oh, we improved the mapping or updated the mapping in Walkerton, in Kincardine, and in Teeswater. Helped out those communities as well. And we're working on a file tracking system to help staff just really keep track of files and determine when some of them have been around for a little too long, speed that process up. So we keep doing. Oh, and we also put a customer service survey online. It's online. They can fill out the survey, and that way our board can determine how efficient or how well our staff interact with the public. So and we hired some more staff to speed up the process. We knew we had an issue, and we keep working on things just to make us more effective. And Steve's been a big part of helping us with that as well.
Yeah, we appreciate Steve's commitment from our share of it. We're in a smaller part of the watershed, but
you deal more with Maitland, I'm sure.
yeah, we do. And David's not here; he's away. But David is the new.
Oh
chair
yes, I
of
met him at
Maiden
the
Valley.
annual meeting.
Yes, the annual meeting.
Yeah,
And you had
exactly.
a tie on there.
I might have. Yes.
I'm just kidding. You. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, any questions for Wayne or? Come on.
Do you still have campgrounds?
Yes, we have 3 campgrounds, one on Lake Huron, one just north of Paisley on the Saugeen River, and one in Durham. But they are all self-sufficient. They don't take any levy money. They have to make it on their own.
The other thing that we developed just recently, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard, is that Saugeen Bluffs. We've incorporated horse camping.
Yes.
And so if you have a horse, you can bring him along.
Yeah.
and you can actually go camping. And we didn't realize until we got that started that there's very places in Ontario where you can do that. And the first one is over here, so that and we're doing the first friend in that respect. So we've had an incredible response from them as well. So that's what we're really
I have one question. I was going to ask you the Greenock Swamp tours. Do you get right into the middle where the last white pines are still there?
Well, we'd love to, but you can only get back there in the winter.
That's what I wondered. It's still very soggy back there. Yep.
It's still very soggy. But we take in the swamp and of course we get actors.
Well, is it on your website when you're doing them?
Yes, it is.
Well, I'll check. I'd like to do that sometime.
I'll leave some flyers there.
Yeah, good. And Wayne, from you, what's the biggest challenge you see conservation authorities having in the next little while?
Well, I think it's the constant challenge of new development and just making sure that the development is in a safe place. We're not anti-development by any stretch. We just want it to be in a safe place so that the properties and the people don't get hurt, because we're going to get another. Well, Harrison, I mean, they had the huge flood.
It's only $21 million they can move the river.
Yeah, think about that. Yeah.
But yeah.
And we've got vulnerable areas like that as well in Paisley and Durham and Washington and throughout the watershed, and we just have to make sure people understand that they have to understand the power of the water.
And you've seen our mapping, that 3D mapping we did really helps us.
Yes, yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Thanks, and we, I think we've seen a long way. I mean, 4 years ago, I think you came.
I did.
And you were just starting up.
My beard wasn't quite as.
Oh, I know, but
that.
But you talked about what challenges you had, and I think you turned the ship around, and I think what we find it and we find it comes from somewhere. We find the interactions really good. We haven't had too many problems, both Maitland and Saugeen, and we think we work together. So thanks for coming and doing that presentation. Okay. It's well worth it, and I hope some of our residents and our citizens get to see that, watch it. And
thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Appreciate the invite.
All right. And now, coming from flooding, we got the insurance presentation right after. And there's only, here from Hazel was only $20 million in 54. When would that be worth today, Steve? I don't know, or Andrea. But you want to come up and certainly there's a lot more. As we saw that little flood in Harrison was $6 million or something like that. We estimated. Yeah. Come on up. Now it's an up. There's a. So I think we've got additional to what we've got. That's additional. Okay. Yeah. Good. All right. I'll let you guys work your magic and figure out who's talking. And
I'll start.
Okay.
For the new councillors-elect, for you that don't know, this is Andrea Bartels. She's our representative from JLT. She's been on with JLT for a fair few years. So if you haven't met her or talked to her personally, I would suggest you have a chat with her. Wealth of knowledge. So basically, I want to look at the comparison sheet between 2018 and 19 to 2019, 2020. The liability, we saw our first increase since inception, since JLT took over, of 5% increase, unfortunately. The environmental impairment liability stayed the same. The automobile had a small increase, but that's just market conditions. I see it with personal automobile also. The property limit, the blank property limit, we added a 4% inflation factor to the figures that are on file, and basically that's what constitutes the increase there. And overall, it's up 4.69% compared to the previous year. Andrea is going to speak more about it, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask her some questions.
Thanks, Steve.
Fun fact about me, I am also an equestrian enthusiast, so very happy to hear about the horse camping that's happening. When I was in university, I galloped racehorses at Woodbine Racetrack, and the natural progression after 7 years of doing that was to the insurance industry, so I specialized. When I started my career in insurance, I specialized in commercial farms and equestrian liability, and I've been at JLT for 4 years now doing municipal insurance. So, fun fact about me. No one really likes to hear about insurance broking, but people seem to be interested about horses. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the market changes that we're seeing right now. In 2017, we saw the most catastrophic losses in a very long time, and we saw increases in insurance in 2017 by 10%, even on accounts that were performing well and didn't have any losses. And a little bit about the Lloyd's market. At the end of 2018, all the syndicates were forced to evaluate their businesses, and they had to bring forward business plans to be approved. Because the insurance market has been so soft for so long and premiums lower than could really be sustainable, underwriters were forced to be more scrupulous with their underwriting and charge appropriate premiums for risks, and a lot of businesses were not removed from those syndicates in order to allow them to present a case that would be approved by Lloyd's. QBE, the insurer that is the syndicate for our municipal program, was approved. Their business case was approved. A lot of them weren't. There were municipal markets that were actually put on risk, so they were told they could not write new business anymore at the end of 2018 until their business plan was approved, and some of them were. So that's the market change that we're seeing right now. The market is hardening across all lines of insurance, municipal in particular. We saw even accounts without any losses at all. We're seeing increases of 10 to 30% this year. Mostly those were domestic insurers, brokerages that only have business in Canada. The advantage of being with JLT is we have global reach. We insure municipalities across the world. So when Canada sees catastrophic losses, when Canada has a bad year, we may have had a great year in New Zealand or in Australia, and that balances out our negotiations with our insurers. So that's an advantage of being with a global insurance company. So if you want to go to this page, the insurance profile, I've broken it down into a few charts. So the first one is the overall package performance. So I have the package premium, so that's all insurance lines, and then the total 5-year premium, and then versus the claims that were paid. So when an insurer or an underwriter looks at rating a policy, they want to look at the deductible, the premium, and the losses, and that's how they determine what an appropriate premium is to charge. Typically, they want to have a loss ratio below 40%. Right now, our overall package loss ratio is 70%, but that's okay because we had the flood loss a few years ago, which really contributed to that. And insurance is really made to pay for those losses that you can't budget for, those losses that are unexpected. So that's what insurance is for. You're not being penalized because of that. So flipping the page, I've broken it down by line. So you have 3 years. Typically, we want to look at 3 years in losses. If there's claims 4th or 5th year back, we don't necessarily take that under consideration when we're calculating the loss ratio. But I've broken that down by line. As you can see, property is 200%. Typically, insurers start to lose money around 60%. But this is what insurance is here for. It's to pay for these losses. So we're really happy with the way that this account has performed in the way that we've been able to maintain stability for you over the past 5 years. So flipping over to the peer review, I compared the town with other towns of similar populations. So you can see in the chart below, the green bar represents populations, the yellow bar represents deductibles, and blue premium, red loss ratios. So Minto, you can see, is proportionate. They're very consistent, and premiums are not a whole lot lower or higher than other peers of similar deductibles and population. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. Questions? Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just reading this on the first page of the proposal. It's 2 years with less than 40% claims ratio. Tell me what that claims ratio is with Minto.
The loss ratio is so you take the incurred claims, which is the claims paid by insurers less the deductible, and then you divide it by the net premium, and then that's expressed as a percentage. So I've broken it down. The entire 5-year loss ratio for the entire package is 70%, but broken down by line on this page, it varies depending on the insurance policy. For the automobile, you had an automobile loss that warranted a 10% increase a few years ago, but it happened the same year as your flood.
Yep.
So because Aviva insured both the property and the auto, they allowed us to put that auto increase off a few years just to keep the prices more stable instead of having a huge increase in 1 year.
One more. The claims on municipal property, other than this office, is there a lot of claims that would raise the premium?
The property premium? No, there
Due
was.
to the flood?
Yeah, there was a flood and there's a fire. 2 claims, I believe.
Other than this office?
No.
Flood, we had a flood in the block.
Well, we had that, but we also had it at the shop in town, and I had a bunch of different ones. Fire was the bridge, I believe.
Oh, there was two claims that way. Okay.
And then the fire was the bridge on the trail that put it up on us.
Second time. Okay.
No, that was a different bridge, though. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I was just looking at that, and you look at it and say, without the big 600 and some loss on the flood, and that we were tracking quite nicely.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, I mean, one of the things is for insurance, we're trying to keep our risk factors down, but there's something like a flood you can't do anything about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, I would hope that this government that we've got in now, and I was going to ask you a question about third-party liability. I think we're going to see some action of third-party liability. Our member of MPP, Randy Petitpiece, had won almost to the gate once, and then there was an election, and it all went south on us. And he promised me he'll bring it back, and I think I've been hearing that. So I know in the insurance industry that will help us too. And it's not like we don't want to, in a liability situation, but because of the third-party liability, if we're found 2% or 5% responsible and all the insurance is used up, that municipalities end up picking up all the tab.
That joint and several liability.
I meant joint and several, yeah. So it bothers me when we see that because it's taxpayers' money. It's not our money. Like we haven't got deep pockets. We just because we're the taxpayer or the citizens to get it. So I hope that we'll get something like Saskatchewan or whatever where there's a cap. If there's an accident, you only can go to a certain cap, and judges can't offer $20 million or whatever. And we have to pick up the tab because it's only $2 million on their car insurance policies.
Yeah, one of our underwriters at Aviva is sitting on a panel for the joint and several liability issues right now, so she's really helping out in that matter as well.
So are we seeing some progress on that?
I don't know as of yet, but I know everybody's really working on it.
Well, I know this government promised that they would look into this as possible. I know they're on their plate, but that's something I'll keep pressure on, and I know you keep pressure on them as well.
Yeah.
Say, let's get there.
The insurers are definitely helping.
Any other questions? Thank you for service, and I know it was tough through the flood times, but I think we, from what the staff had said, we've had good service from you as far as that goes. You were there when we needed you, so go from there. Thank you. All right. Public question period. Anybody got any questions from the public? Great. Let's get them all off. They're here during the budget discussion. Okay. Where are we? Correspondence. So, anybody want to pull anything out of the correspondence? Motion to move the correspondence. Moved by Councilor Kenton. That's in all favor. Okay. Right. Oh yeah, sorry. You have something you want to pull something?
On D there, could we send Randy and Ted, Mr. Franklin, processing that Belvite request to the province? Minister of Health.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. You can do that.
They acted that on that right away, and I think if that happened, it would be a bonus for all the municipalities in the province.
All right, we can do that. We're gonna write that down. Okay. Good. Anything else? Okay, seeing none. Carried the motion. I think we did carry the motion. Reports and committees. Yes, who was up? Who we got first? Drinking water. Todd first. Todd? No. Educate us on water, Todd. Yeah, that's a little short for you now.
Talk loud enough, I think.
Well, no, you have to get it in.
Yeah.
You got to get in so
Everybody
you're
wants to hear you.
it's the public and it's your fans out there,
Yeah.
Todd. You want to make sure you're heard properly.
Yeah.
And we need to look at them. You can go to karaoke and not have to have the right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the time of the year again for our annual and our summer reports. So everyone receives them and reviews them. They're basically they act as the report card for the water systems and make sure that everyone's kept aware of everything that's going on in the system. The highlights from them this year, we didn't really have any non-compliances to mention other than we have a boil water out of Middle Pines as part of some planned maintenance or planned boil water. Still reportable. Other than that, on the sampling side, we are continuing with the quarterly sampling that we're over half the max on the issue. Samples there are remaining constant. As far as low exceedances, we have need to report and see that lots of volume available. That's basically the highlights of them.
Questions? We did have a little meeting with Farm Fresh the other day, and they're very happy with how we're working with the water. Remember, we had some concerns at one time, but yeah, so it's going really well, and that was just a good communication between you and somebody that needs lots of water, and yeah, good deal.
Yeah, and also these reports are available to the public as well. I've seen it.
Oh, sorry, what Judy was supposed to say. You were supposed to get on me. You can't allow me to think of that. Did you mention it to me? Not really loud, Gord. You got to be louder.
Just follow the hammer.
Just give me a bang. Sorry, Judy. Take over. You got the rest of it. There's some more, isn't there? Yep.
So we have to do a motion for that.
Yeah, you're up.
Oh. Wait a minute. Recommendation. Okay. Thank you. So the recommendation is the council approves the 2018 annual and summer reports for the town of Minto drinking water systems, including Clifford Drinking Water System, Harriston Drinking Water System, Palmerston Drinking Water System, and Minto Pine Subdivision Drinking Water System, and that individual members of council and the acting CAO and acting clerk sign the respective reports as stewards of the water infrastructure. Any questions? Member Mover? Councilor McKenzie? And the seconder, Mayor Bridge? Okay, all in favor? And opposed? Thank you, that carries. And I will pass the chair back to Mayor Bridge.
Do you have one more?
Not yet.
Chris Manning.
Yeah, but it's not. Oh yes, that one is right. Sorry, that one is right now.
So we'll get this figured out.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you very much. Kyle Davis, I'm the risk management official of the town of Minto, here to provide you with the annual report for 2018 for source protection activities. So source protection is one of the barriers that ties in under the QMS for your drinking water system. And town of Minto is subject to 2 source protection plans based on conservation authority boundaries, Saugeen and Maitland Valley. In 2018, there was 99 development applications that were reviewed for town of Minto, including 62 notices. We will expect the notices to decrease next year, given there was some changes on the Maitland Valley source protection plan that passed just recently in February. That will reduce the number of notices and allow a lot of residential applications to be exempt from the review process. And then also in 2018, the township zoning bylaw was brought into conformance with the 2 source protection plans, and also in 2018, and actually this week, we continue to negotiate risk management plans for the existing activities. So these can be stores, these can be the auto body shops that are within the wellhead protection areas for the town of Minto. We've got 17 risk management plans in progress right now. Actually, one got signed off this week. 73 in total for the county. I would draw your attention, just mention the county. There's a table in your package that just kind of shows the implementation progress for the entire county. We're appointed across all municipalities and implement source protection under the Wellington Source Water Partnership. And lastly, just kind of building on the education theme that Saugeen Valley was talking about, just wanted to draw your attention to the Waterloo Wellington Groundwater Festival, which is the last week of May, and which we support financially through our budget and also through staff time and kind support. So it's 5,000 students, 1,000 students a day, and about 600 or so from the county that go each year, and it's a great festival if you have a chance to come check it out. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. I left my notebook at home and I had some notes, and so I'm feeling a little lost. But there was someplace it was S59 notices issued for reporting year.
Yes.
And so it goes across the whole county, and there were 95 in the whole county, but there were 62 in Minto alone. So how is it we had 2/3 of those, and what are those S59 notices?
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Dirksen. S59, Section 59, it's the section of the Clean Water Act.
Right.
And what that is for development applications, there's a requirement under the Clean Water Act and the source protection plans for risk management officials to review development applications to make sure there's no activities that would be regulated under the Clean Water Act. So it's a review process. The reason that Minto had so many, 2/3 as you pointed out, is to do with the Maitland Valley Source Protection Plan not having a residential exemption.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. So what we've seen, and if you look in the table at the numbers of overall development reviews, our total number of reviews, if you total up the notices plus the other additional reviews, is 351 across the county, and that's the vast majority of what we see in the other towns and townships in the county. Is less notices, more comments, like through planning circulations and shit like that.
Okay. Councillor Elliott.
So we're saying that town of Minto is fairly solid when it comes to source management. We're in pretty good shape.
Yes.
I don't have anything no shows happening at all.
I would never say anything. I would never say anything at all.
You haven't got a job.
Well, no. if there was nothing at all, I would say that. But no. In this case, yeah, it is absolutely in good shape. We are in the process of negotiating the risk management plans with existing activities. Those always take some time. And we will get to a point. Stacey, Terry, and I are looking at a point where we will have those RMPs in place, and then it's more compliance inspections and more of a kind of a maintenance scenario, with the exception of the 59 notices for any development reviews that come in. But yes, I would say that we're in good shape.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll read the recommendation that Council of the Town of Minto receive the Risk Management Officials Report regarding 2018 Source Protection Annual Reports as required under the Clean Water Act for information. Mover. Councillor Elliott and Councillor Gunson. All in favor? And opposed? Thank you. That carries. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And up next is the chief building official.
No,
Thank you.
I had to check first.
I know we're getting
There's
there.
another one, but it's not together.
No, it's not together yet. Are we gonna get that one right?
And I don't have my.
We'll try to get that one right. Fit right here. Resume to chair. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for having me to present my report. To start off, I'd like to apologize for not having flashy pictures in this one. A council member, leave nameless, Councillor Dirksen, pointed out that I only have one picture in here. She kind of was wondering why there was no more pictures, or not as many pictures. So I'm not getting out in the field as much, and she pointed out, well, it's kind of the 21st, 22nd century, you know, your staff have cameras, they can take the pictures for you. So I will work on that. So, regardless, last month we issued 9 building permits. Worth around 6.9 million, which is pretty decent. In total, we've got 17 permits issued worth about 7.3 million, which is really high for this time of year. The highlights from February were we issued 3 new residential dwelling units, all up in Clifford. We had a single family on an infill lot and then a semi in the Field of Dreams. So this would be the William Street side of that development. We also issued a permit for a new conventional hog barn. That's north of the office here. So that was a nice $1 million barn. And then an addition onto both TG Minto as well as a medical education addition onto Palmerston Hospital. So those were kind of the big projects of last month. So to date, our numbers are higher than our 10-year average. So we're sitting at 17 versus the average is 13.3. So we are lower than a couple of years ago at this point, but again, it's early in the year, so things can level off or keep increasing as they did last year. So a 10-year rolling average is about 1.7 million, so we're a little bit higher than that at 7.3. And just because I'm the numbers guy and looked at what we were at last year, so the end of last year, we're sitting to date at 40% of that constructed value. So we're pretty good for being commenced. Any questions? Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I guess I can maybe mention. Should I mention on the TG Minto one that they're going to go net zero? That they're trying to build this net zero energy new addition. So they'll produce as much energy with solar panels, and the way they're going to configure the actual building with natural light and everything else, that they'll produce as much electricity as they're going to use in the plant itself. Yeah. Yep. It's part of TG Minto's world idea that they're a car company. They want to help with the carbon footprint. So it's quite interesting. And we had a discussion with them, Linda. Pretty excited about that. Anyways, and that'd be an interesting one to do all the inspections on. Has somebody moved the builders room? Anderson? Dirksen? All in favor? Next up. It's still me. Just keep me on the straight and narrow, right? What are you up here as?
I'm doing Quinn's report.
You're the clerk's assistant.
I am the clerk's assistant right now.
You have a lot of hats.
I will not do this near as well as Quinn would have, but I didn't make Quinn stick around as this is a routine report. This is in addition to what we talked about closed a few meetings ago. This is just declaring the property surplus that the MTO would like to purchase to score off their road. So we need to declare it surplus so that we can go through the process and square off that road that they're going to rehabilitate for us this year. If I can, before this is, we did have a meeting with MTO last week, and they just like us to assist them in getting the word out so that this is the proper time to do it. Highway 9 will have closures throughout the summer. They're going to close it whenever they're doing a culvert or have to dig across the road.
So the MTO has granted the contractor permission to close the road off at various times. But there is time frames that it has to be open by Friday at 3 o'clock, that the road will be open. We are working with them quite closely and very impressed with the relationship that they have and coming to us and their engineers and the people on the project talking with us. But the detour will be up Highway 89 to County Road 2 and up through Drew and then coming into Clifford that way. So Mike McIsaac's been working with them. We are going to change that intersection at Park Street right at the entrance to Clifford to a four-way stop again, just to slow people down coming into town, because when you come out of the Mill Street at the side there, you're not sure whether it's going to be open or closed to your left. So if we just stop everybody, then we can hopefully deter some accidents. And Mike brought that suggestion forward, but we just wanted to let everybody know that as soon as the weather breaks, they're hoping to get out there at the end of April to get that project started, and it will be probably for the entire summer that project will be done. So at different times throughout the summer, you will see that road totally closed. And then other times when it is open, there will be down to one lane restrictions throughout it. So we're just helping them get the word out too. So anyway, back to the report. This is just part of their project, is squaring off their road and making sure that they own the proper width for their road.
That was yours, Judy. No?
I don't think so. Nope.
Oh,
We're under clerk's department.
well, no, but then he got into road.
Yeah,
so
then it's
that's
right.
what threw me off.
We work such well as a team together that
Yeah,
we
I know.
just cross all the time and helping each other out.
It's not our road.
One thing, Mike, where are we with the county on the speed limit in Drew then? 260, is that what we're going to? And then we're going to put one of our electronic signs up there. Because our concern is, especially coming from Clifford, if you hit Drew coming over the hill, with that intersection is going to be pretty busy with the detour on 2, that we want to slow people down. I mean, it's not, the sight lines coming from Ball Diamond up is a lot better than coming up over the hill. But if somebody's they're supposed to be doing 80 if they're doing 100. That's our concern, right?
And there's a few more newer houses along there too
Yeah.
that we want to keep with children in that area.
So I'd hope Mike just keep in contact and let us know when they want to get the signs up. If you have any problems.
Okay.
All right. There's a recommendation on here. That's small. Here, I'll read yours. Right here. Okay, recommendation is that the Council of Town of Minto declare the lands known as Part Lot 83, Concession C, known as Part Lot 3, Plan 61R 8397, line Highway 9 in the Town of Minto as surplus. Further, the Council directs staff to provide notice of pending sale to the public in accordance with bylaw number 0803 with respect to the sale or disposition of land, that a bylaw authorizing the mayor and the acting clerk to execute the agreement of purchase and sale be brought forward at the regular session of the council on April 16, 2019, following insurance issuance of the required notice. Move in a second. Mark and Jeff, all in favor? Thank you. Linda.
Good evening, everyone. We have a couple of land sale agreements, purchase and sale agreements here on tonight's agenda, and our first one is with Black Rose Reserve. And I just want to mention that Mr. Rosen is here tonight, all the way from Cambridge. I told him he didn't have to come, but he wanted to be here, so feel free if you have questions after. You all know about this, obviously, and it's going to be a micro cannabis facility in the Palmerston Industrial Park at the rear of the industrial park, looking at 1.73 acres, offered the purchase price of $35,000 an acre, and this is going to include 5,200 square feet of greenhouse for cultivation activities and another 5,500 square feet for office, production, and other related activities. Mr. Rosen has put a really great team together. He has his core management team, which includes a PhD trained master grower and a VP of quality assurance with over 25 years experience, as well as himself and Kyle Rosen, and they're expecting to hire about 6 employees in their first year with potential to expand after that. This is at the back of the industrial park, so as you know, we don't have our sewer lift station in yet. So Mr. Rosen has agreed to pump the sewage to the existing manhole, and when the sewage lift station is installed, we would connect him into that at our cost, as we are selling these as service lots. Rezoning will need to take place pending this signing of the agreement, and that will be done, initiated by Mr. Rosen. The building is just 600 square feet shy of our 15% lot coverage, but we're okay with that, being that it's at the back of the park in the odd shape of the piece. And a survey will be completed as soon as the snow is gone, and that will help firm up the deal. We have in the capital budget to extend the road and the water services, so that's noted in this as well. And yeah, so our recommendation is that we go ahead and sign our agreement of purchase and sale with the Black Rose Reserve.
Questions? Comments?
Did you want to add anything?
Want anything? Or?
Sure. Well, you're here.
Yep.
Just wanted to thank everybody for welcoming us to the community, and thanks for exciting to be here.
Like you spoke at the health plan, as you all know, it's about 18 different process.
We still have a little bit of runway left, but we're looking forward.
Yeah, but they're quite far along the program. Yeah.
And it's the last step we need to submit our application. So it's very critical.
And in all our dealings, I must say, we've been very professional, and we're able to come up with the answers to our questions, and look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Yes,
Yep, about a year.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so we have a recommendation that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the March 13, 2019 report from the Business and Economic Manager regarding the agreement of purchase and sale of Lot 7. Oh, you meant got the wrong one there. Yeah, here it is. The Council of Town of Minto receives March 13, 2019 report from the Business and Economic Manager regarding the agreement of purchase and sale of for 1.73 acres of Farmers Industrial Park, Black Rose Reserve, Inc., Commerce Industrial Park, and authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement for purchase and sale. Moved by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Johnson. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we're selling so many lots. I got mixed up. We're selling another one now. Go ahead.
Yep. So we have another parcel here, and my real estate partner in crime was the lead on this one. So thanks to Mr. Pipers over there.
10%.
Yeah, that's right.
I just want to go on record that they've donated a commission back to the town.
Yeah.
0% anyways.
Yeah, so this is a pretty straightforward agreement of purchase and sale. Everyone knows Dan. He's a nice guy and a great developer here in Minto. He is looking to purchase 0.7 acres on Noble Family Road, so this will be our second sale there. He is going to be constructing about a 4,500 square foot building, and this is specifically for his kitchen manufacturing business, and it does meet our minimum building lot coverage. It is zoned correctly, and so everything's basically good to go with this. Looking for a closing date of the end of August. It's pretty straightforward.
I have a recommendation here that the Council of Town of Minto receive the March 13, 2019 report from Business and Economic Manager regarding the agreement of purchase and sale of Lot 7 and Sanctuary in the Commerce Industrial Park, and authorize the mayor and acting clerk to sign the agreement of purchase and sale. You want to move that? Dean and Judy, all in favor? Good. Thanks. You got anything left to sell, or we just keep moving it?
Yeah.
There's a few other fish in the fire.
It's been a busy year.
Yep. And you're still up?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yep. Now you're Bill.
So I'm
now you're Bill White.
representing our senior planner from Triton Engineering, Mr. Bill White.
You're already the CEO before you took a bigger job.
Yeah. So we've been communicating with Bill on our community improvement plan. So as you know, a community improvement plan needs to be in place for us to be able to give grants to businesses. And our plan was first done in 2009. We were one of the first places in the county to have a plan, mainly just doing signage and facade work. And then back in 2015, 2014, 15, we introduced our structural grant program, which has really been a key program for us and seeing quite remarkable results in our downtown. So that's all been great. Now we have an even further tool in that the County of Wellington has introduced a community improvement program. So the county can't have a CIP at their level and give money directly to businesses. They have to go through the lower tiers. So in order to do that, we need to open up our CIP and include their programs within ours. So that's what we are doing now. And while we're doing that, we are going to be adding in a couple of small things for us, which Bill has noted in our report. We want to have a small, I guess, urban design grant of like $500 so that businesses can maybe do some really nice planters or encourage them to do benches out front, the kind of things that Roger Brooks was really rallying for the businesses to do. So we want to incentivize that. Also wanting to encourage the outdoor patios, getting people on the street, that sort of thing. So while we're opening this up, we're going to include those. We are also expanding. Initially in 2009, we had just the downtown cores of the three communities. Last time we opened it up to the whole urban center of Clifford, Harrison, Farmington, and now we're opening it all up to all of Minto because the county does have programming that can service those people in the rural areas, and if we don't include that, then they won't be able to access it. So that's important. And what else do I want to say? One of the big things that the county has is their Invest More program. And that's one I think that's really going to be of benefit to our businesses where they can get up to 50% or $10,000. So that's going to be a really great fit with our structural grant. People can get our structural grant and then also get funding from the county. And there's also a loan program available through our CFDCs in both Saugeen and Waterloo Wellington. So for the portion that we're not covering with grants, the business can get a loan, low interest loan through them to help them with their half. So I think that's really important. And one thing should note on page 4 of this, it had said that we give grants up to $20,000. We actually grant up to $40,000 depending on what the project is, the merit of the project. And another thing is on page 5, number 3, it said about a loan program. We are thinking of taking, right now we do have a loan program in our CIP. We've never utilized it. And because the CFDCs are offering that, I think we're going to look at pulling that out. So we'll be strictly grants, not offering loans. We don't have to administer that helps as well. And just to be clear on this process, when we first did our CIP, the ministry had to approve your CIP, and since the last time, they have to review it, but they do not approve it. So there's no approval authority per se. We have to have a public meeting, we have to give notice, we have to have them review it, but they don't approve it. So those are kind of like the main points out of Bill's report that they wanted to highlight it more of.
Questions? Rob?
What you're talking about township being involved too, so what kind of a project would you see that?
Yeah, so like one of the elements that the county really wants to focus on is tourism and taste real. So if there's like say a brewery or a winery or any kind of local food project like Flowers to Fragrance building, so they wanted to do some expansion to that and they were going to be having a local food market or something. That's something that they could apply for signage, stuff like that. Like that would be one of the best
It bring
examples,
Tivadale into play too, which isn't in
Exactly.
now. Tivadale is in our system now. The Tivadale, there's quite a few businesses there.
Yes,
There's other
we
little
have had
spots
interest from businesses in Tivadale for the signage program and facade program actually.
And in the county budget is $160,000. And it's first come first serve, so it's not like
Yes.
25. Yep, get on it. So we ought to get on this as soon as possible.
And in order to get the county
Steve's
funding,
writing his checks now. He's down there getting Wellington North going.
in order to get the county funding, the municipality does have to endorse the
Yes.
applicant. So say Councilor Elliott was going to be doing something, he would apply to us and we would have to approve it and endorse it to the county. They would run their formula and their rules and then approve it, give us the money, and then we give you the money. So there's a lot of things that we're going to be doing in terms of monitoring and reviewing things and making sure the things.
But in a fairness, when we worked on this program, it made more sense for the local municipality to do all that work because we're on the ground, we see it, we know who needs it, whatever's going on. One of the things I'm really excited about, and Linda will remember this, I talked about this a long, long time ago with the loan program. One of the problems with when you're trying to get an older building back into shape and whatever, you can't go to a lender until you actually have revenue. And unfortunately, you can't have revenue until you fix it up in a lot of cases, like the old post or whatever. So they were able to go back to bank financing after the fact, and with having the future CFPCs involved, I think this is a great win for us because they've got the expertise to do the loan program, and it'll be a short term in most cases until they get rental income and everything. They go back to a source and get financing. But that was always the hindrance when we tried to get some of these empty stores going again and getting some rental upstairs was that program. That's why we came with our 40,000. But we're out of the loan business now and let them get into it. And we got the expertise there, and I think this will be a big win for us.
Another question I might have: are all the communities in Northern County prepared to?
Yeah.
I mean, actually have ours in place. Have they got theirs in place?
So actually, yes. For a long time, not all of them had plans. Since then, most of them do have plans. I think, well, Hermosa was the last one, or they're just about ready, or have they launched? I can't remember.
I think they've got it finally.
And then I know Wellington North has updated. They've done this update process, and they're ready to go. So I think they're just waiting for us in Central Wellington. And where I was going with the piece about municipality needing to endorse it, we have a pretty good budget for our CIP program. Not everyone has that. Some of them have significantly less. So when you're funding, and you have to put the money into those businesses before they can get money from the county, right? So in say Guelph Hermosa, if they have a lower budget for the CIP and they're out of money early, but a good project comes along that would qualify for the county funding, if they don't have money to give to these businesses, then they're not even going to get the county funding. So it's lucky for us that we have a good sized budget for this program that will help our businesses access that money. But we also need to change up how we do our structural grant program, I think. The county is on a first come, first serve, where we're that way for signage and facades, but for the structural program, we have been doing twice a year intake, right? One in March and one in September, and then judging them against each other. How the county is doing it being first come, first serve, and you can't start before you get approved. Us having our normal way of doing things would not work. Like our people would miss out on money. So we're gonna probably have to switch to doing it on a first come, first serve. And hopefully people are ready to get their applications in, and we may have to be not wanting to give a lot of money out at the start as they're coming in, and then go back and look at things and see where we're at. But we'll have to see how it goes for the first year.
It's good news having both levels of government involved.
Yeah, it's great.
But again, a lot of it is the groundwork. Some of the ones in Wellington North have been in it for quite a few years. And Steve, you guys have been and your facade program is working well and whatnot. And here and I think Erin's got the first county one because they actually didn't have one. So when they were actually doing their CIP, they just went right to the county profile, and so they got the first one. And it's a young person in Phillipsburg, and they have a restaurant, and they renovated it, and she's won awards as a chef. And she came up to a meeting I was at, and very grateful for the fact that we got the structural grant.
And the other piece that's really important is the whole apartment piece.
Yes.
And that's something that's really on the county's radar as well as already built into our plan. So a lot of these things are already in our plan. So it's not going to be a big change for us. And there's a big marketing and promotion blitz set to come out in June. And so hopefully we can stay on target with those timelines as proposed. So we're hoping early April we should have the plan for review.
Are you, Mr. Mayor, that I'm reading this countywide study for housing. Is there a time frame on that one?
They've issued the RFP, and I believe they're waiting for those to come back. Has that ended? The RFP?
I think they've got the firm. We found out today. I think it was. Well, you weren't there. You didn't have county. Yes, so they got the firm, and they're really excited about it. Mark, and then coming to county council with a report.
And there's going to be opportunities for engagement during that process of the attainable housing strategy.
We're going to have it, and
workers and that one when
Hmm.
Yep.
great. It's in motion.
Yeah, it's
Yep,
in motion,
yep.
and it's actually the RP. They had two firms bid, and they've already taken the firm that's going to go with it. And one of the reasons they took that firm was they had a lot of experience in attainable housing, rental housing, and that type of thing. So they're looking forward to getting that. Well, Campbell was there today. He did that today.
Thank you.
Oh, we need a motion recommendation there. You want me to read all that, or are you going to be good with that? You want me to read it all? I'll read it all. I'm told to read it. Okay. The Council of the Town of Minto received a report dated March 13, 2019 regarding the amendments of the 2015 Community Improvement Plan and approves the following. Passes the Community Improvement Plan area bylaw designating all the land in the Town of Minto for the purpose of preparing an amendment to the town's 2015 Community Improvement Plan. Amendments to the 215 Community Improvement Plan through provisions set out in the 2018 County Approved document entitled Invest in Wellington Community Improvement Program. That copies of the proposed draft amendments to the town CIP be sent to the province and county as soon as possible, so the notice of the proposed amendments can be given 90 days later. Anyone move that? No. The trouble with the community improvement plan. Right, Judy? Mark, all in favor? Easy. Great stuff. Okay. I'm turning it back over to Councilor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we have Mike McIsaac, our Roads and Drainage Manager, with we're gonna spend some money.
Oh, yes, once again.
Yeah.
So this is the results of the George Street North water main installation. This is the last leg of the dead end George Street North there. It's been on the books for quite a few years now. Basically the reason why it hasn't been done already has been proposed for renovating for a development to happen on the north side of the railway tracks, which doesn't seem to be moving along anytime soon. So that's why we're proposing this to budget into the. Is there any questions with this one?
Mayor Bridge. And sorry, he's going to move it. Is there a seconder?
I can do
And
that.
Councilor Elliott. Okay. The recommendation is Council receives the Roads and Drainage Manager and Water Foreman's March 15th, 2019 report, Triton Engineering, water main installation tender, and that the project be awarded to Moorfield Excavating at $153,056 plus HST funded from the 2019 capital budget. Okay. And I'll be able to move in the seconder, so all in favor. Okay, thank you.
And that was one of our people that came to our meeting today, budget meeting, so now we can tell her it got approved. It's on the map.
Happy snappy.
Are you turning it back to me? Oh, I'm the finance chair. Oh, gosh. Lord, we'll be working you hard. Approval of accounts. We have the treasurer here putting his treasurer's hat on. We wear a lot of hats in this council.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Bridge. In this check run, we paid $155,000 in supplemental levies to the school board in the county, and that's always kind of a good thing if we're paying them, because that means our taxes. So our building permits from a couple of years ago are being converted to taxes now, so that's good. We also, as approved at our last meeting, I believe, we said we'd donate $10,000 for the health professionals recruitment. Yeah. And one of our, I guess, proactive mitigation strategies at our last kind of ice storm, we had a thaw and then a freeze, and we removed ice in the river for about $5,500, which is a lot cheaper than some of those insurance claims for sure. And another $11,000 in road and salt, and we're continuing to work on our water system modeling so we can have better decisions, so another $8,000 there. And we were able to complete about $25,000 worth of manhole repairs, which were held over from last fall. Again, we had an early freeze up, but we were able to get that work done too. And we also, well, we didn't just do the work, but we just got the bill for some stone dust on our trail for about $10,000, and we appreciate the county funding for that too. Highlight? Thank you.
Council, I'll read the recommendation. Council of the Town of Minto receives the Treasurer's report dated March 12th regarding the approval of accounts and approves the Town of Minto accounts for the Department of March 2019. Questions, comments? I'm going to move it. All in favor? Next up, insurance.
Yeah, so
Native insurance.
yeah, it is. This is further to our presentation here. Again, as Andrea covered a bit of the history and what's changed. So we're in, as we say, an environment where we've got a lot of impacts on the insurance rate. Some are under our control, or at least locally produced, and some are in the middle market. So as we did go out for proposals about 7 years ago, I think we benefited in savings, but due to a combination of factors, we've now basically approached the same level that we were at when we did that. Our property coverage is certainly up. We're at 88 million, and in 2016 that was 77 million, which is good. They're just adjusting for inflation, and we've added a lot to our infrastructure too. Kind of interesting that $1 of premium now insures $814 of property, and that's 828. We changed our deductibles a few years ago. Again, I don't think it really makes sense to increase them over $10,000. That seems to be a fairly significant figure even now. Anyway, we've had an average increase, if you look over the past 3 years, of about 4.5% per year, but with a corresponding increase of $15 million in property. So, again, like any service, insurance is one, and it's a very significant. And I think staff does recommend that we do go to the market. Just our timing, if you're an existing company, a new company is going to be interested in our asset management, and I believe I've mentioned before, we hope we'll have an updated plan for you in late summer, and that'll provide some valuable information, and there is quite a staff commitment to ensure that we prepare a good request for proposal document. So we have a March 1st renewal, and what we're proposing is to accept this renewal. Staff will work on preparing the proposal during summer and fall. Thank you.
Ron?
I'm very, very happy that next year that we'll be getting a lot more time to look at our insurance coverage. A lot of money to pay out, and make the decision over a couple of weeks is difficult for all of us. So kudos to the staff to be able to bring that forward, and we'll review a more efficient time. Thanks.
And actually, I'll read the recommendation. The council receives the report dated March 11th, 2019 from the Treasurer and Deputy CEO regarding the 2019 municipal insurance program, improves the renewal, and directs the staff to prepare a request for proposal to open for submissions in the fall of 2019. And do you have any more to say?
Yeah, no, just that you read the recommendation that with this report, you're not only approving the insurance renewal for this year, but you are authorizing us and telling us to go to RFP. So that won't come back to you. The next step will be the RFP proposals will come back to you. We're hoping late fall, very early winter, because of a March renewal, which is what we did the last time. To extend it, it wasn't January because of the rush at the end of the year. That'll give you time to get into the new year, review the proposals, and be able to come up with a March, be ready for the March renewal with whatever successful the RFP is.
And in the report, we talked about the asset management thing, which is important. A lot of the work is to have the assets all figured out. That's going to be done by the summer, and hopefully we can get going. And who knows, we could maybe get some good news about the third-party liability line. Maybe that'll be, they'll have that all passed, but we're working on it. anyways, yeah, I think it's a good good proposal. Any other questions on it? Like, can I have a seconder? Hmm? Mover is Ron. Seconder is Gene. All in favor? Good. Looking forward to that. Now, Chris, on just a quick question: are we going to be feeling fairly comfortable and like going out and not like last time? I think it was 7 years ago. I can't hardly remember, but I think it was the first time we'd done it in a long, long time, and I think Bill at the time wanted to have a consultant help us with it. But since then, asset management's in play and all the other things. That was a problem back then. We really didn't have an asset management plan, so we didn't know. I think we're better prepared to do it.
Yeah, they have pictures and
Yeah, so we
asset
feel
condition.
comfortable doing that internally. Yeah,
Yes,
good. Okay.
we also have the template from the last time
Yeah.
went out that we
So,
can just work on
perfect.
updating. So that is one of the projects for the summertime that we will
Okay.
try and
Yeah,
get
I
to.
was just wanted to clarify that because I didn't think we were talking about going and getting a consultant and all that stuff. All right. And I'll turn it over to Chris, who's going to talk about the Trail Bridge report, one of our many fires.
Well, yeah, this was a fire and a flood, and we just combined it all into one.
Yeah.
So we've been going through this process since the flood. The flood damaged this bridge on the trail extension, I'll call it, the secondary trail coming out of Palmerston towards the third line. While the insurance company and the adjusters were looking at it, determining whether they could repair it or it needed replaced, we also had a fire that was set on the bridge and did some more damage to it. It didn't matter, the fire, as much. They said that they ruled kind of at the same time as the fire that the bridge was not going to be able to be repaired. It had to be replaced. Similar to the one that we had burn on us on the main trail that we had to go through replacing, which, if you recall, was somewhere around $150,000 to replace that bridge. So we've got the report back from the insurance company on this and just need your direction on which way to go. The first scenario is if we do not fix the bridge and we close this section of trail permanently, we will get paid a cash out of $28,000, just over $28,000 as a payout for obviously not having to fix that bridge and just accepting the bridge as is and taking it into our hands the way it is. If we decide to replace it, we have already paid a $10,000 deductible for these claims, and that's going back to the earlier question about we had to pay $10,000 deductible for all our other flood claims. But because this is a bridge and not considered one of the structures, this would kick into the $50,000 liability or $50,000 deductible. So we'd have to pay another $40,000 out to kick in this bottom part, and then they would go ahead and replace the bridge.
Can you explain that? I just missed that for a minute. How the deductible works.
So for the initial flood on the buildings themselves, it's a $10,000 deductible. This is not considered a building. It's considered a accessory structure. So that our deductible for that type of thing is $50,000, similar to the Leather Bridge. So we've already paid $10,000 deductible. But in order to get this project to move ahead to replace the bridge, we'd have to pay another $40,000, and then they would go ahead and replace the bridge for the figures you can see in your report there. So those are the two options. This trail is overgrown because it has been sitting that way for a couple of years now, and Public Works have spent some time in there removing a lot of the tree limbs and getting it back up to where it would be walkable. It is not a main part of our trail. It is just kind of a loop that exists for the trail. So we still would maintain the main trail that goes from Palmerston all the way out to the 7th and then jogs into Hairston to catch the trail in there. So we would still maintain that. We would still have a functional, very good trail that heads all the way out of town. This would just be kind of closing that accessory Y that you can see on the map that was provided. This didn't get to go to Trails Committee to have a full discussion because they would like a decision sooner rather than later. So for us to take it to Trails Committee and then come back to Council would be an April item, and the contractor and the adjusters need a decision fairly soon so that they can get it booked. And he's obviously only going to hold his price for so long. So we kind of need some direction tonight which way we want to go with this. But as I said, if we take the cash out, we will be closing that section of trail off to the general public just for safety reasons, obviously, because there'll be no bridge to be able to cross. So
Thank you. Through you, I was just wondering if we went with option 1, what costs would we incur closing that piece of trail? Like, would that bridge, whatever is there, would that have to be taken out? Like, what has to be, how much of the 28,000 do we have to spend closing that?
Those costs, we haven't been able to get a firm cost on that yet. We would put permanent cement barricades across that end of the trail to close that off, to permanently close it, which is not a huge cost. We do have some options on how to remove the bridge that we're still exploring and we'll be able to come back to. I don't anticipate it being a huge number to be able to have that bridge removed. Definitely not more than that money, and I fully expect to have some of that money left over to put into the main trail if you decide to take the cash out and use it for the main trail. So, but I don't have firm costs on what that would cost to remove that structure.
Is the bridge passable at the current time?
No.
No, they can't get across.
No, the trail is closed now. We would just firm it up more with barricades, cement barricades.
People going down there now, or
no, it's closed now.
Sturdy.
We would make it more discouragable to go down there.
Because we still see vehicles out there. People are walking parked on the trail. Dogs.
Yeah.
You see them parked by the bridge there.
Yeah. And we're hoping by doing that they can encourage them to take the main trail, which is what it's there for. Still park their vehicles and take the main trail in and out of town.
To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have two trails in the same place. So close one off. Spend $135,000 to provide a second trail. You end up the same spot. So that's my recommendation.
Two things I would also recommend we exercise number 1 in your report, and my other comment would be if it's not open to the public, why do we have to do anything? Not for public use. Why would we have to?
Right, and I agree with you. That's what we're exploring. But the fear of it is that if we don't eventually do something with the bridge, if it does collapse and fall into the waterway, it could cause some flooding on the adjacent landowners because it would become a dam. Then it would block off that stream for spring and heavy rainfalls. So that is still our responsibility to stop that from happening. But that's why I don't have direct costs associated with that to see what it would be. So that's our fear. Yep. No. That's a fair question.
And I think I'll ask you, Mark, because I think you were at the last trail meeting that there was the concern we didn't really like the fact that we thought we had to replace the bridge or we had to go the other route. I think that we didn't have the option on the table with insurance companies. We didn't. So I think that your trail committee was kind of leaning towards putting money into the other trail a little bit rather than the other.
There were no concerns with closing.
No, that's what I thought. Yeah. So even though unfortunately it would be nice to be able to take it to Trails Committee, I know you're on it, but
sure.
Yeah, we have to act on this fairly soon, so that would make the window of opportunity.
Correct.
So any more concerns on it? I'm for the for number 1 too myself.
Good question. Chris, how much of that land and moon that trail goes down to?
If you look at the white part, so the white lines is our property. So we're in the red circle, just that little white, in between the white lines, that's what we own. Just that little tiny stretch that goes down there is all our property. That's all.
66 feet.
66 feet? Is that what the railway was?
All right. So, any other... So, did you need direction on one of these options?
Yeah, I would just, if we could make a recommendation accepting option 1 or option 2 would be great.
Okay, can we, want to make a motion?
I would make a motion we accept option number 1.
Okay. Second for option number 1. Yeah. And maybe we'll vote on that, and if we have to vote in the second one, we'll vote on it. That works for you? So everybody for option number 1? Wait for option number 2. No, okay, so we don't have to do option number 2. So you got your direction.
Perfect, thank you.
And I forgot to ask what other business to start. Has anybody got? I have one that I'm going to speak to, and Anybody else got one? Judy?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
Go ahead.
Thought you were collecting. So I just wanted to make everyone aware on April 18th at the Palmerston Fire Hall, there's an ATV safety information night. This is sponsored by Safe Communities and Minto and Mapleton, the Wellington Farm Home Safety Association, and the Wellington County OPP. We usually have a pretty good turnout for that, and that's usually the
Just a quick double. We have 3 pretty good sports teams going right now. Pee-wees are 2 games up in the finals in the HA, and they go to Lucan Saturday. I kind of hope they win down there, but it'd be nice to see them win at home too. But yeah, it'll be great to see them win. They're a really good team. I went down and watched the last game. And we've got a few people here that
kids in it.
Children and grandchildren on the team, and a lot of fun, pretty exciting. 1-0 game the first one, 2-1 the next one. And we have a couple of broomball teams that are both going for national championship, which is something that Ontario champs. I think they're both rated number 1 in Ontario too. So one's playing that's the intermediate ladies. They're playing out of Broadridge. And there's a junior ladies team that's going to Quebec. So we're wishing them the best. The Broadridge one is this weekend. I think in a couple of weeks. And junior team is putting out this week dinner. Tomorrow night. So if you get out to Portland, that'd be great. You're probably not going to be able to see them play Boomba. But it's good to see that, and I think we have B team or no, Phantom team that went up and
No, it was a novice. I think they won.
a tournament up in
Huntsville.
Yeah.
That's one in Huntsville. Yeah.
won a tournament
Adam.
up
Sorry, Adam. Yeah. They had a good ending of their year.
You know what? Well presented in the entire meeting. Really good to see.
Thank you. Gene?
Quick reminder about the Think Minto First again. We have a few more days to purchase those certificates if people are looking at them and support local businesses and support the chamber. If we don't have forms, they were downloadable last week on our 2 weeks ago in our packet, so we can provide some for you from the horticulture society.
Good. I just have one that I wanted to express our condolences to the Fisk family, and we've lost 2 actually of the last couple of weeks of our councillors and our mayors, our Reeves, that were around for a long time and put a lot of effort and goodness into the community. And we just lost Ken Fisk, who was a past mayor, councillor, warden of Wellington County. My dad sat in council with Ken, was the Reeve when Ken was the mayor, and Ken put a lot into the community, and wishes go out to the Fisk family and our condolences on behalf of the council, if that's all right. Out. And yeah, so that's about it, unless anybody else has anything else. Okay. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor McKenzie, that the Committee of the Whole convenes into regular council meeting. All in favor? Any notices of motion? Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Gunson, that Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motion made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Oh yeah. Defer. Okay. Our first bylaw is just was a motion made to defer public meeting to defer. Is that all we have to say? Somebody approve that?
I think we already did
Yeah,
that.
that's already done.
We did that.
Already did? Okay. That's gone. Yep. All right. Next one. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Anderson, the bylaw number 2019-28 to authorize the sale of industrial lands on Noble Road, Family Road, Palmerston Industrial Park to Dan Sanker be introduced for first, second, and third time and passed over council seal to the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Johnson, second by Councillor Dirksen, the bylaw number 2019-29 to authorize the sale of industrial lands in Minto Road, Palmerston Industrial Park to Black Rose Reserve Inc. be introduced, read first, second, and third time and passed over council seal to the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Mackenzie, the bylaw number 2019-30 to amend the bylaw to 099 to expand the community improvement project areas in the town of Minto be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed on to council. So, all in favor? Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Gudson, the bylaw number 2019-31 to confirm the actions of the council of the corporation of town of Minto respecting meeting held March 19th, 2019. Introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed on to council. Seal of corporation, all in favor? Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Elliott, that the council of the town of Minto adjourn again to meet at the call of the mayor. All in favor? Thanks for the meeting, everybody. Well done.